So that is an altercation that, as you can tell from the sound, rapidly devolved into what became a mass shooting in Sacramento just over the weekend. We don't know exactly what caused it. Those details have not been released as of when we're filming, but 3 men and 3 women were killed in what has become an all too typical mass incidents of violence via guns in America. The Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, says enough is enough. The sickening gun violence plaguing our communities must end. There's been about as many mass shootings in America as days so far in 2022. My office continues our work to get illegal guns off our streets, hold those responsible for gun violence accountable, and push for and defend in court common sense gun laws. This work is urgent. We must act now. We must act now or ever, honestly, ever. Because what you just saw there is devastating as an individual story, and also so incredibly typical of an average day in America. You had an incident where people were fighting, and that could have been as far as it went. But unfortunately, someone had a gun. Because while they say guns don't kill people, people kill people, as comedians have often noticed, the gun certainly helps. Nobody thinks that anyone would have died in that incident, even with a bunch of people brawling, if not for the presence of a gun. But because of that single variable, 6 people have lost their lives. Others were injured. We're gonna get into more details, but Francesca, what do you think?
Shout out to Chris Rock, who recommended raising the price of bullets. Excuse me. I mean, this is so devastating because it didn't have to end like this. I mean, I think if you have lived through your early 20s and late teens, you've been in one of these kind of altercations, whether outside of a bar where like a bouncer's not letting you in, or like some dudes being like kind of douchey, like all these kinds of scenarios. It happens a lot. The difference is people pulling out a gun and taking your life. That is the difference, and that should never ever be the option. And again, this is in California, a state with one of the strictest gun laws, and yet, what are we doing wrong? One thing is, we still have crazy gun shows. We've got gun shows all the time. Now the show, it's really a gun sale. These are shows that actually you can buy guns at. I went to a gun show a few years ago for some reporting that I did. I filled out filled out a gun safety thing. So I got, like you're supposed to in California, make sure that you know how to properly operate and store your weapon. Now, I didn't study at all, obviously, and I'm a terrible test taker, and I passed. It was like, should you sleep with your gun or should you put it in the nightstand next to your bed? And I was like, I'm gonna say nightstand. So like, the point is it's very easy still in this state to get a gun. And what we love to do in these cases is say, well, was it legal? Did he have a permit? And I would argue that even if both of those things are true, that there are still far too many guns in our communities. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. Look, the guns make it a little bit more difficult, especially to quickly get a gun. And here in California, it might make it more difficult to get certain types of guns. Like,
sure,
I don't know exactly what gun was used in this particular mass shooting, but I am sure that there are ones that are more devastating that, thank God, are difficult to get in some states at the very least. But we still love them. We still advocate for people just randomly walking around with guns. And as I said earlier, all it takes is introducing that variable. Just have a gun around. The risk to everyone nearby skyrockets. That's how it works. That's how it's designed to work. They just pretend that it's about defense. No, bulletproof vests are kind of about defense. Guns, bullets, they're about offense, kind of necessarily. You can't deflect a lot of bullets by shooting them, so the defense argument is absolutely insane. And as a result of this, as a result of our generally in this country lax gun laws, as well as our love for guns, our veneration of guns, the shows, as you said, there was also another shooting in Dallas, Texas. 1 person was killed over the weekend, 11 others injured, including 3 juveniles. This is an outdoor concert event overnight Saturday in Southeast Oak Cliff. So outdoor concert, police said there were several thousand participants on hand for the concert that featured several rap performers, and officers ended up finding a 26-year-old lying near the stage with a gunshot wound to the head. He was later pronounced dead. 11 people taken to area hospitals by private vehicles and ambulance. Police said one is in critical condition, the other is in stable condition. As we've noted, as we've gone by in the years, we not only have lots of mass shootings, we have lots of the same kind of mass shootings. Like if I say, do you remember that big shooting at a church? You have to ask which.
Which one? Yes.
That big shooting at a concert. Which
one?
Like at a bar. You have to get so granular to even cite the horrendous tragic events that happen in America, but nothing gets done. Echoing Rob Bonta from earlier, in 2022, so far, there have been 119 mass shootings. Now look, people define mass shooting differently. I'm sure there are counts that have more or less, but absolutely devastating. And you can see some of the hot spots for them in California, 9 in that one area. I don't like that's the sort of map you're supposed to have when you're like seeing all the different places for breakfast burritos in an area and you have to really zoom in. I don't want that to happen for mass incidents of violence. No. And we're not even talking about shootings. Because forget that. You couldn't even map all the different shootings, all the gun violence. We're talking about mass instances of multiple people being gunned down. And we barely have granularity at that at the national level.
No, and we're always rushing again to excuse every single incident. Well, this person struggled with mental illness. Well, this person, he got that gun illegally. Well, this person, there's always a way that we weasel out of our like glaring American exceptionalism, which in this case is the only time I agree with American exceptionalism, which is that we have way too many guns in this country. It reminds me, I was just talking about homelessness and housing, right? In this country. Now there is a perception out there that if you're mentally ill and if you're on drugs, that you're gonna be homeless. Well, actually the data doesn't bear that out because across the country, there's a lot of mental illness, there's a lot of drug addiction, but places like Arkansas that have crazy amounts of opioid addiction, people still live inside indoors and in homes. Whereas in California, where there is less housing and it's more expensive, there is more homelessness. It's the same thing. You want to end homelessness, increase the number of housing and make it affordable. You want to end people dying from gun violence? Yes, mental health services, yes, all of the other things. Take away their guns. There is a commonality. Why do we pretend like we're brand new on this every time it happens?
Exactly, yeah. For years and years and decades. You cited the Chris Rock thing. I was citing Eddie Izzard. When did those come out?
90s.
15 years ago, 20 years ago, longer? It's worse now than it was. We've had a lot of success. I was gonna say as progressives, but I mean for a lot of this, just rational people who don't want to see people needlessly dying, in convincing people on a lot of different topics. And we've really moved on some things, in some cases very fast. In this, just every year it just gets worse because people are making money off of this and they're using fear to organize their supporters. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.